I signed up for the job thinking it'd be easy, long stretches of quiet time to read, to think, and to enjoy the beauty of North Dakota's vast, untouched wilderness. Firewatch sounded like a dream. That was before the lights started appearing in the sky and before I realized what they meant. My name's Chris, and this is my first month on the job. I'd always loved nature, the smell of pine, the whisper of wind through the trees. So when the chance to take a seasonal post as a fire watchman at Devil's Ridge in North Dakota came up, I jumped on it. The station was remote, set miles away from the nearest town, high on a ridge that offered a perfect vantage point of the thick woods below. The first 2 weeks were peaceful. I'd wake up with the sunrise, scan the horizon for smoke, log my observations, and spend the rest of the day soaking in the stillness. The nights, though, were a different story. At first, it was just the usual creaks and groans of the old tower, settling in the wind that bothered me. Nothing out of the ordinary. But then the lights began. It was just after midnight, on a clear Tuesday when I first noticed them. I'd stepped out onto the balcony to stretch my legs, the cool night air feeling good against my skin after a stuffy evening inside the tower. The stars overhead were bright, so bright they felt almost close enough to touch. That's when I saw them, 3 bright orbs hovering just above the tree line, far off in the distance. I figured they were helicopters, maybe a search and rescue mission for someone lost in the woods. But as I watched, they didn't move like helicopters. They didn't move at all. Actually, they just hovered, perfectly still, their light pulsing faintly like they were breathing. For a moment, I just stood there, staring. Then, without warning, one of the lights darted straight up into the sky and disappeared. The other 2 followed in quick succession, vanishing into the darkness without a sound. I felt a chill creep down my spine, but I brushed it off. Probably just some weird atmospheric anomaly. At least that's what I told myself. The next few nights were quiet, but something about the woods felt off. There was a tension in the air that I couldn't shake, like something was waiting just beyond the trees, watching. My sleep was restless, and every time I woke up, I had the uneasy feeling that I wasn't alone in the tower. Then came the news about the campers. It was a Friday when the call came through on the radio. A group of 4 campers had gone missing near Devil's Ridge. They'd been last seen 3 days ago, heading into the woods, with plans to set up camp near the base of the ridge. When they didn't return, their families raised the alarm. "Keep an eye out for anything unusual," my supervisor Bill had said over the crackling radio. "We've got search teams out, but no sign of them yet. Might have just wandered off the trail, but you never know. Let us know if you see anything." I told him I'd keep watch, but my gut was telling me something wasn't right. People didn't just vanish in these woods, not seasoned campers anyway. And with those strange lights I'd seen earlier in the week, I couldn't help but feel that the 2 were connected. The next night, the lights appeared again. It was just after midnight, the same time as before. I was sitting at my desk, reading by the glow of my lantern, when a flicker of movement outside caught my eye. I stepped out onto the balcony, my heart already racing, and there they were. 3 bright orbs hovering just above the tree line, closer this time. I grabbed my binoculars and focused in on them. The lights were eerily still, and as I watched, they began to pulse again, slow and rhythmic. I stared, unable to look away, as a strange humming sound filled the air. It was soft at first, barely noticeable, but it grew louder, vibrating through my bones until it became almost unbearable. Suddenly, one of the orbs shot toward the ground, disappearing into the trees below. My heart jumped into my throat as I realized that the lights weren't just hanging around for show. They were searching for something, or someone. I grabbed my radio and called it in. "This is Chris at Devil's Ridge," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm seeing some strange lights in the sky, same as before, but closer now. One of them just disappeared into the trees." Bill's voice crackled back over the radio, calm but tinged with concern. "Stay put, Chris. We've got search teams out there. I'll send someone your way." I nodded, even though he couldn't see me, and set the radio down. But I didn't stay put. Something inside me was screaming to move, to find out what was happening. I grabbed my flashlight and jacket, then started down the stairs of the tower, the cool night air biting at my skin as I made my way toward the tree line where I'd seen the light disappear. The woods felt different at night, more alive somehow. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig made my pulse quicken. My flashlight cut through the darkness, but it felt feeble, like the shadows were pressing in on me from all sides. I walked for what felt like hours, my breath coming in short, ragged bursts. I had no idea where I was going, only that I needed to follow the pull in my gut. The instinct that something was wrong. The deeper I went, the stranger the woods became. The trees seemed taller, their branches twisting together like claws, and the air grew colder, almost unnaturally so. Then I found the campsite. The tents were still there, half collapsed and covered in dirt. Gear was strewn across the ground like it had been tossed aside in a hurry. But there were no people, no sign of the campers at all. My heart pounded in my chest as I moved closer, my flashlight flickering over the scene. That's when I saw the footprints. They were large, far too large to be human, and they led away from the campsite, deeper into the woods. My mind raced as I tried to make sense of what I was seeing. Bears, maybe? But the prints didn't look like any bear tracks I'd ever seen. They were too elongated, too strange. I was about to turn back when I heard a sound that made my blood run cold. A low, guttural hum, like the one I'd heard from the lights in the sky, but this time, it was coming from the ground. The hair on the back of my neck stood up as I realized that whatever had been in the sky was now here, in the woods, with me. I followed the sound, my heart in my throat, until I came to a clearing. And there, in the center of the clearing, was something I could hardly believe. It was a craft, small and sleek, with a smooth, metallic surface that seemed to pulse with light. It hovered just above the ground, making up that same low hum I'd heard before. My brain couldn't process what I was seeing. Aliens? It sounded absurd, something out of a bad sci-fi movie. But there it was, right in front of me. Before I could do anything, the light around the craft intensified, blinding me. I stumbled backward, shielding my eyes, and when I opened them again, the craft was gone. Just like that, vanished into thin air. But the clearing wasn't empty. Lying on the ground, unconscious but alive, were the missing campers. I rushed over to them, shaking them awake one by one. They were dazed, disoriented, but unharmed. They couldn't remember what had happened, only that they'd seen the lights and then everything went black. We made our way back to the ranger station, stumbling through the dark, trying to piece together what we had just experienced. But there were no answers, only more questions. The lights, the craft, the missing time. It was all too much to comprehend. When we finally reached the station, Bill was waiting for us, his face pale with worry. I tried to explain what had happened, but the words felt hollow, like they didn't belong to me. How could I explain something I didn't even understand? The campers were taken to the hospital for observation, and I was told to take some time off. But even now, I can't shake the feeling that something is still out there, watching, waiting. The lights haven't returned since that night, but I know they will. They're out there, in the sky, in the woods, and they're not done with us yet. I don't know what they want, or why they took the campers, but I do know one thing. This job, this place, it's not what I thought it would be, and I'm not sure if I'll ever feel safe here again. The stars over Devil's Ridge aren't just stars, they're eyes, watching from the darkness, waiting for their next move. And I have a feeling they're not finished with me yet. Like and subscribe for more stories like this.